All right, looks like we've got a stack of articles and brochures here all about window locks and security.
Wow, someone's serious about home security.
Well, you know what they say? A safe home is a happy home, right? But seriously, it sounds like you're ready to give your windows a serious security upgrade. And honestly, I don't blame you. Windows are often the weak point in home security, and we're going to help you sort through all this info and figure out the best ways to make your windows as secure as possible.
It's surprising how many people just slap any old lock on and call it a day without considering all the different factors at play.
Yeah, and going through these articles, one thing that stuck out was how much jargon gets thrown around. Like, is a sash window the same as a double hung window?
Ah, good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, those terms are often used interchangeably. Both refer to the classic window style that slides up and down.
Okay, that makes sense. So then what about casement windows? Are those a whole different thing?
Exactly. Those are the ones hinged at the side. They swing open inwards or outwards like a door. And this is key. The type of window you have absolutely dictates what kind of lock will work. It's like trying to put a square peg in a round hole. If you don't have the right lock for your window style, it's not going to be secure.
Which reminds me of that Reddit thread you shared.
Mm.
You know, the one where that homeowner thought their sash windows were inherently insecure, but it turned out they were actually casement windows the whole time.
Oh, yeah. And they were all ready to rip out those perfectly good Anderson Permashield windows, too. Classic case of mistaken identity.
It's like that time I almost tore apart my bathroom faucet because I thought I had the wrong type. Turns out all it needed was a new washer. Sometimes a little knowledge can save you a whole lot of trouble.
Couldn't agree more. But okay, let's address the elephant in the room when it comes to window security. This idea that sash windows are just inherently less secure. A lot of people seem to think that.
Right, like they're stuck in the Victorian era with only flimsy latches to protect them.
Yeah.
But one of the articles we have actually pushes back on that pretty hard. Says sash windows have survived this long for a reason.
Exactly. They can be just as secure, if not more so, than some modern designs, especially if they've been well maintained and have the right locks. It's like those old school padlocks you sometimes see.
Yeah, the heavy-duty ones.
Exactly. Sometimes the classics are classics for a reason, they just work. But here's the catch, and the articles all emphasize this: window security isn't just about the lock itself.
It's about the whole shebang, right? The whole system.
Exactly. It's like reinforcing a castle door, but forgetting about the drawbridge. You've got to look at the bigger picture.
So let's break it down then. What are the most common weak points? The places where windows are most vulnerable.
Well, one major vulnerability is worn-out hardware, especially in older windows. That squeaky hinge you've been ignoring might be more than just an annoyance.
Oh, you're telling me I am the queen of ignoring squeaky hinges.
It could be a sign of a bigger problem and a potential security risk. Regular maintenance is key, just like you'd service your car. Don't wait for something to break completely.
Right, got to stay ahead of those repairs.
Yeah.
What else you got? What other weak spots should we be looking out for?
The frame itself. People often overlook the frame, but a compromised frame can render even the most high-tech lock useless.
Makes sense, like trying to padlock a rotten door.
Exactly. Look for things like warped wood, rot, gaps in the sealant. Those are all signs that your window frame might be compromised.
So basically, before we even think about new locks, we need to give our windows a thorough checkup. Make sure the frames are solid, the existing hardware is in good shape, and maybe even call in a professional if we're not sure about something.
100%. Better safe than sorry, right? And speaking of things that can go wrong, even if you have a sturdy frame and top-of-the-line locks, improper installation can throw a wrench in the works. Remember that half moon thing one of the articles mentioned?
A half moon. Refresh my memory.
So it was talking about how sometimes if a lock isn't installed perfectly straight, it might only engage halfway.
Ah, so it looks secure from the outside, but it's really only hanging on by a thread.
Precisely. It might as well be a sticky note saying, come on in. Which is why, honestly, when it comes to Windows security, professional installation is usually worth considering. You want to be sure that lock is doing its job properly.
Yeah, I'm starting to think that maybe some things are best left to the pros. Okay, so we've covered the bare bones. Knowing your window type, checking for weak spots, and making sure things are installed correctly. But now let's talk about beefing up the security even more. What are some of those next level measures we can take? The stuff that goes beyond just your basic lock.
Right. It's all about layers of protection. Like, think about those medieval castles. They didn't just have one gate, did they?
No, they had moats and drawbridges and all sorts of things.
Exactly. Multiple layers of defense. And when it comes to windows, one really simple but effective option is a sash stop. You see these mentioned a lot in the articles.
Yeah, sash stops. To be honest, I wasn't totally sure what those were.
Basically, it's a device that prevents the window from being open fully. You can still open it a bit for ventilation, let some fresh air in.
I see. So you're not completely blocking the window.
Exactly. But a burglar can't just slide it all the way up and climb in.
It's like a security guard for your window. You shall not pass all the way.
I like that. Okay, and for those who like to be extra cautious, which, let's face it, when it comes to security, who isn't?
Right. Better safe than sorry.
There's something called dual screws.
Dual screws. Okay, now you got to break that down for me.
So these are screws that go through both sashes of a double-hung window,
Okay.
essentially handcuffing them together. That way, even if someone manages to tamper with the main latch, the window's still held securely in place.
So it's like a backup system. Love it. You know, going through all this, it's interesting how some of these security measures have extra benefits beyond just stopping burglars.
Oh, totally. It's like that saying, killing two birds with one stone, except in this case, it's more like, I don't know, protecting your home and saving energy with one window upgrade.
Okay, not as catchy, but you know what I mean.
I do. Like, take double or triple glazing. Those extra layers of glass aren't just great for insulation.
And noise reduction. Living next to a busy street, believe me, I know the struggle.
Oh, tell me about it. But anyway, yeah, they also make it way harder for an intruder to break through.
So it's a win-win. More secure, A&D, more energy efficient. Okay, so we're thinking about sash stops, dual screws, maybe upgrading to double glazing. What else should we keep in mind when we're choosing these extra security measures?
Well, one thing that came up a lot in these articles is the importance of matching the right lock to your specific windows. And this is especially true when it comes to frame material. They make a big deal about that.
Right, because you can't just slap any old lock on any old window,
Mhm.
especially if you're dealing with different materials like aluminum versus timber.
Exactly. You try putting the wrong type of lock on the wrong type of frame, you're going to have a bad time. Different materials have different properties, different strengths and weaknesses.
So it's like those shoes that are only made for certain terrains. Like you wouldn't wear hiking boots to a ballroom dance competition.
Well, you could, but it wouldn't end well.
Exactly. So wrong lock, wrong window. Recipe for disaster. And speaking of which, I noticed that ABO's push-pull we were looking at specifically mentioned being suitable for Australian conditions. Made me realize that's probably something else to consider, your specific environment.
Oh, absolutely. Climate plays a huge role. Salt air, extreme temperatures, even those pesky insects you get,
Don't even get me started on the insects.
all of that can affect how well your locks hold up over time. It's like you need the right gear for the job, right?
For sure. So it sounds like when it comes to window security, doing your research is crucial. No cutting corners, especially since this is not the area where you want to be skimping on quality.
You said it. Speaking of things that are worth investing in, I want to talk about this feature that often gets overlooked, but it's something I'm a big fan of.
Oh.
Key-to-like convenience.
Oh yeah, that popped up a few times. In the Carbine brochure, the Whitco one, even that Brisbane locksmith guide mentioned it. But isn't that more about convenience than actual security? Like not having a giant key ring full of keys.
I know, it seems that way at first glance, but hear me out. Because a well-designed master key system can actually make your home more secure.
Okay, now I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
Well, for starters, no more hiding keys under that fake rock or that welcome mat, the classic hiding spots everyone knows about.
Still T is charged.
And no need to give out multiple spares to neighbors or dog walkers. With a master key system, you've got complete control over who has access to what. Plus, and this is important in Australia, the sources mention making sure the locksmith who installs it is properly licensed.
So it's regulated. That's good to know.
Right, so not only is it more convenient, it can actually be more secure. As long as it's done right. It's like having a high-tech security system for your keys. But, we've been talking about all this heavy-duty security stuff, and I know some folks listening might be worried about their windows turning into, well, eyesores.
Right, I was just thinking that. Because who wants a super secure home if it looks like a prison?
Exactly. Luckily, though, you don't have to sacrifice aesthetics for security these days. They've come a long way.
Right. One of the articles even showed all these different finishes for casement window latches, like antique brass, sleek chrome.
Exactly. You can find security options to match any style. Whether your home is vintage or modern, there's something out there for you. It's like framing a beautiful painting. You want the frame to complement the artwork, not distract from it.
It's like they say, you can have both, security and style. But, all this talk about the actual hardware, the locks and the frames, got me thinking about this other aspect of security we haven't really touched on,
And what's that?
the psychology of it all. You know how some of those articles mention that burglars often case a place first, like they're looking for empty homes, easy targets.
Right, the whole idea of deterrence. It's fascinating how much of a role that plays.
It really is. It made me wonder, like, how often does something as simple as leaving a light on, make a difference?
It could. I mean, think about it. If you were a burglar, would you rather target a house that's all dark and looks empty or one with lights on?
Good point. Makes you think twice about those vacation mode settings on smart lights.
Exactly. Even if it's just an illusion of occupancy, it can be enough to make a burglar think twice.
Okay, so we've covered a ton of ground here. We talked about different window types, those common weak spots to watch out for, how to beef up our security game with things like sash stops and dual screws, the importance of choosing the right lock for the job, and even a little psychology 101 for burglars.
It's all about being proactive, taking those steps to make your home less appealing to criminals in the first place. Prevention is key.
Couldn't agree more. And on that note, we'll leave you with this. What small changes can you make in your everyday life to up your security game without turning your home into, well, a fortress? Think about it. And until next time, stay safe out there.
And stay vigilant.